Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the Property Doctor podcast. This week you've caught me hard at work in one of our units, one of our service accommodation properties in Redcar. I'm here with Monty the Matterport. And Monty is a 360 degree camera that spins round and takes like a 360 view, like a 3D view, and then you can move throughout the property and look in every room and look up and down, and then it also zooms out and puts all the rooms into one big doll's house, so that then you can look and go, I want to look in there. So this is something that we've recently invested in so that we can add the finished products to our Getaways website for guests to have a look round before they book. Hopefully it keeps them on your page a bit longer, and we know that the longer people are on your website, the more chance they are of converting to a booking. So hopefully it'll work. The other thing that we've got it for is that we can do before and afters of the builds, so we can go through the property with it before, and then once it's finished we can go through it again, and then you can see the work that we've done, and that hopefully will generate more interest in what we're doing. Anyway, so that's the plan. This week on the podcast, I'm sharing a previously unreleased video interview. The interview has been released before on season 1, but the video version of it, this is the first time, and it's going on the YouTube channel. The reason being that I haven't had chance to do a new audio interview over the last few weeks because of what's going on. So I've got 5 properties completing in this month. I've got a business that we've agreed heads of terms, and that's in legals now. So the lawyers are instructed and all the rest of it in that. So there's lots and lots and lots going on. And because of that, it's same old story. But luckily, I've got lots of interviews from season 1 that were actually filmed. So I thought I'd put one of those out whilst I'm fitting in further interviews for your listening pleasure. Anyway, I truly hope you enjoy it. I think this is one of the first times I had someone on that I really liked and admired and respected. So hopefully you get some value from it, even though it's just over a year old. The content and the story is just as relevant now as it was then. So enjoy. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and tell people about this channel if you think it's any good. And tell me if you don't, because at least then I've got an idea of how to change it. Okay, all for now. Toodle pip. How this works is I'll say something nice about you to limber you up, and then I'll hit you with a sucker punch.
I look forward to it.
Okay, so welcome to this week's episode of the Property Doctor podcast. And this week is a real pinch me moment for me because I've got what I would describe as a proper property person on the podcast this week. I've been trying to pin this guy down for quite a while, trying to play it cool, Rodders, but time just keeps going and going, and we never ended up getting there. But we're here now. So this week we've got Danny Inman, who's he runs the Prosperity Network. He's active on social media. Danny's got a massive pipeline of property deals and developments that we could only dream about that runs into the tens of millions of pounds. But most of all, Danny's someone that tells it like it is. He doesn't sell a get-rich-quick scheme, and I really resonate with that. So here we go. How are you doing, Danny?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Andrew. And it's good to finally match diaries up and have a good chat. I was inside and then in a hotel, and it got invaded by a load of people. So I've escaped to the safety of my car. So we can have a bit of peace and quiet and a good chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in the car is probably the quietest place you could get anyway. So that works. Yeah. So just briefly talking about your background for those that might live on the moon and don't know, you started off as a young lad playing rugby. Yeah. You were pretty good at rugby. We have a tiny little bit in common there, because when I grew up in the Northwest, and I trained a little while with Waterhead Juniors, and there was a lad there called Paul Sculthorpe.
Yeah.
And I realised then that I was never going to make a rugby player because he was absolutely colossal. So you did rugby, but you didn't like it very much, or you didn't feel it was for you?
No, you know what? God's curse, I called rugby. It made me very good at something I wasn't that keen on particularly. I was really keen on it until it became my job and it was a full-time thing. And all of a sudden, the fun had been removed from it. It became ultra not competitive because I am competitive, but I mean, I was looking at guys retiring at the age I am now, 34, 35, 36, and they were retiring and starting new careers in like plumbing and painting and decorating and things like that. And I thought, well, I'm going to bash my body for 20 years here. And then I have to start again at 35, 36, because there's no real money in rugby league. I'm in rugby league Northern, and it's a little bit better now than it was. But 15, 16 years ago, as I was coming through as a kid, wasn't really much money. It was a bit of a steam, and you were quite well known in your town as a good rugby player. But yeah, not much cash at all. And I've always had an eye for a pound, and my careers have largely been driven by the idea of making a pound. There's changed a lot in the last 15 years on what my perception of making a pound is, but definitely when I was 16, 17 and getting bashed around by 18 stone blokes, thinking, bloody hell, I'm going to do this for 20 years for not too much cash. I very quickly fell out of love with it.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, when I started training with Waterhead, I think I was 14, 15 at the time, and Scully was our year. He went to Oldham Sixth Form College, same as me, and he had a sponsored car. All the girls like flocked around him, and he was like a big deal. But I remember him like just bashing me off on the pads and like laughing at me because I was so crap and small compared to him. And I thought,
well, I was probably the version of him in my school, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, very similar. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to run more than 5 yards in PE because I was that much better than everybody else at rugby. It was all very, very peculiar as a kid. But interestingly, as I progressed from that, it kind of set me up for a fall a little bit because I was so naturally good at that and education to a degree. That as a kid coming through, I thought life was going to be really easy,
right?
On the basis that I'd breezed everything. And yeah, got a bit of a reality hit a little bit later down the line, let's say, when you get into the real world and real responsibilities.
Yeah. So after rugby, you went to uni to do engineering, is that right?
Yeah, civil engineering and advanced maths I did.
Advanced maths,
completely,
right?
well, driven completely financially. As I said, I had a view. I'm very working class. My father worked as a warehouse operative, and my mum's been a receptionist for 30 years. So as working class as it potentially gets in a lot of respects. So my perspective was the only people I knew that drove really nice cars were lawyers, doctors, engineers. I was decent at maths, so I naturally took the engineer route out of all of them. And that was my pure decision, was made on not what I enjoyed particularly, but what I thought was going to benefit me most financially and get me a nice car.
Yeah, well, that was the same for me. I'm from a very working class place, and I remember after one night out when I was a kid, my dad sat me down and said, "Look, if you carry on like this, you're going to end up there. But if you do your exams, you'll end up earning much more." And so that's how I ended up doing medicine. And then that worked out that actually that's not enough either. There's not enough pound notes. So, it is what it is, isn't it? So what happened then? Did you finish uni?
Yeah, I finished my bachelor's. I dropped out in my master's. So I had a graduate scholarship with Lang O'Rourke, big engineering firm. So I was going to walk straight into a job. So again, there was an element of breezing there. I think I picked a lot of that up. It's very, very easy when you're in that graduate sort of scheme mode. If you go in and you've got a rugby playing or discipline, like a strong discipline behind you, it was quite easy to pick up the role. So I had a few of them fighting over me. Pitt Lang O'Rourke, got sponsored for part of my degree and was going to walk straight into a job. And then I went during one of the summers to an internship as part of the sponsorship, and very quickly realised that wasn't going to be much more than a glorified data entry clerk.
Right.
So I was really proud that I could work out the force through a beam and I understood structural engineering and all of this as a supposed civil engineer, and the guy that was head of it, I'll never forget. He was just like, "Yeah, we've got a computer that does all of that." I was like, I'm busting my nuts at uni learning algebra to derivatives. Ultimately, you're telling me none of it's that important, really.
Yeah.
I think that's a conundrum for a lot of people in the education world now. Is they've got this. You go and get the education, and then you go into the employment world, and people want the experience. Or there's that thing. Are you better off doing 5 years at uni or 5 years in a development role as an apprentice that promotes you? And I felt like I'd actually gone to uni, and it had handicapped me in a little bit because I'd learned a load of stuff that was completely irrelevant, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
and I really struggled then. That had a massive impact on my mental health, and I got really, really ill at that point.
Right. Okay. What happened there then?
Yeah. Oh, very bad, very, very, very bad depression and complete irrationality, to be honest. I think because by the age then of, I think I'd be 21, 22, I'd had 2 careers, let's say, that I'd been pretty good at, but decided I didn't want to do either. I just went down this irrational spiral of, am I ever going to find anything that I'm good at, or am I ever going to find anything that I want to do with my life? I was great at rugby. My dad was made up with it, and I disappointed him. My mum was made up that I went to uni and did really well in the degree, and then I bailed out of that, and I've disappointed her, and I just created this whole image in my head that was a complete, not failure, but I was never going to find something that I enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, I rarely talk about it because the property education world, everyone has a sob story, then a sell, and a lot of people sell on the back of their sob story, but I was very, very ill, very, very mentally. And a lot of people were rightfully worried about me for quite a period. But property saved my life. I genuinely believe that in a non-fantasy sounding way. And it's not that because it's property and I found this amazing thing that's revolutionary to me. It just gave me something to focus on, and that's really what I needed at that point in my life. I was obsessing over what am I going to do next, and if I make the wrong decision. Honestly, I was doing everything. I was going to try and apply for the forces because I thought I'm physically fit, I'm young, I'll be great in the forces. Everyone's always told me to go there, and then they were like, "Oh no, you've had manic depression in the last couple of years. You need a couple of years of being clear." And then for me, that was like, "Oh, hell, I've got to wait a couple of years. That's the end of the world."
Yeah.
It's completely irrational. When I got into property, it just gave me something to focus on that I could understand. It was numbers and people, and I've always been good at numbers. I did maths, I understood numbers. The opportunity of making a pound, which we've talked about, has always been attractive to me.
Yeah.
And I like people in the main. I really like people, and I can understand a lot of respects where people are coming from. So it just gave me a focus that over a period of time got me quite a bit better. And now it's I say this to people that I was very ill, and they would never believe it because they wouldn't believe that I could go to that place. But it was an interesting time.
Do you mind me asking, was that your diagnosis then, manic depression? Did you get a diagnosis?
It got extremely serious to the point of two attempts on my own life as a kid, really 21, 22. Police knocking down or knocking on the door to my sister's flat to attempt to section me at one point. I wasn't well. I was very ill.
That is definitely not well.
No, and completely. Anyone talks to me about that phase of my life, I was just so irrational. The irrationality, and I think that's what a lot of people in that place struggle with. Everything seems like such a huge effort, and everything seems impossible, to be honest. And everything feels out of reach, or if you have to wait a little bit, you want the fix today, and it has to be today. I have to get better today, and my life has to be going in a direction today. And I look back at it now and go, Christ, I can't ever believe I thought like that, but I did, and fortunately, it's a blessing that we've sort of come through the other side, and there's no chance I could go back to that place now. But I spent a good 12 to 18 months in a very, very bad spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you say, giving yourself something to focus on, and it just happened to be things that kind of you're already good at, like numbers and
and being people, you're either a personable person or you're not. And people, you can work at
Yep.
improving how good you are with people, but some people are just naturally personable, and so being
Yep.
naturally personable and good with numbers, that obviously allowed you to focus on that thing. And then when we in my job, when we look at people with mental health things, we often want distraction and a focus, and
Yep.
that really, it's been proven to help people out of sticky spots. And it just so happened
Yep.
that being a +1 at a property event was that thing for you.
Yep. Crazy. Honestly, I'll never forget that day that I drove down to that event, because I stopped at every single services on I'm Northwest based. The event was in London. I was staying with a friend at the time who I've basically been sent with. The friend's mum and dad had done the training previously, and they were sending me as the +1 with their son. And every single services on the way down to just on the outskirts of London, I stopped and basically went into the toilet and was convincing myself, right, I'm turning around. I'm not going to do it. This is a waste of time. I was telling my mate that I was sick. Oh, I'm really sick. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I remember it to this day. Absolutely crazy, but obviously got there. And it wasn't a magic pill, but I think it was a bit of hope. Like, I genuinely thought, all right, I can see this on a practical level. There's a bit of hope here. And now, knowing what we know 15 years later, some of it might have been a load of bullshit.
Yeah.
I might have been told an absolute story, but at the time, it helped me. It 100% helped me. So
yeah,
it had a big impact.
Brilliant. And just finishing off on that, then, do you still get any? Is there any gremlins that remain? Because I mean, we all have ups and downs. So
yeah, I say even now I speak to a lot of people about this. I have probably a day a quarter where something sneaks in and I have to give myself a slap round the face, basically.
Yeah.
And it passes much quicker. I think that's part of recovery, is like how often it's happening. So as you're getting better, you start to get like slightly more brighter days than darker days. And I just get a couple of times now where I think it's probably what everyone gets in their life. What is all this for? And do I need all of this stress to get all of this result? Have I not got enough now? All of those questions. So I'd say they're probably the only things now, but certainly not on anything like the level, and I can manage it considerably better. I've got complete control over it now. When it's happening, I just have to go, it's happening, carry on with your life and it'll soon pass, kind of thing.
Yeah, that comes with experience of managing it. Also comes with maturity, doesn't it?
Big time. Yeah, and 100%. I think I can see why a lot of youngsters struggle with it, because they don't know how to manage these new emotions and these new feelings. Certainly as a young male, and why it's probably so prevalent across men, is you have sort of an ego and a bravado and an energy that you have to try and protect, and all of that. That's we're very naive young men.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, who'd be a bloke?
Oh, I tell you, yeah. It's easier when we just hit things with hammers and
it's much better with that. Yeah, or hit them with a bat, or yeah, fantastic. So then we get into the beginning of your property career, your third career, which has turned out to be the one for you. And I believe you started off sourcing. Is that right?
Yep.
Delivering takeaways and sourcing at the same time, or something like that?
Delivering takeaways, eating too many of them, and sourcing as well. Yeah, that was
were you naturally good at delivering takeaways? Was that another one of your natural
brilliant!
attributes?
I'll tell you what, I was the fastest takeaway delivery driver you've ever come across in the Northwest. Your food had only just been cooked and it was at your door. That was it. I basically carried on delivery takeaway driving, getting the piss taken out of me by my mates. I was a delivery driver and a property investor at the same time. I just did it because I needed cash, and I didn't want to take any money out of the business while I was trying to grow a business. So I'd work all day trying to find deals for people through the sourcing element, and then takeaways 6 nights a week to get a bit of cash in the pocket and go from there. So it it was doing what you needed to do, really. Obviously, younger, no responsibilities, and I don't know if that's a reason or an excuse for people, I guess. But yeah, that was me. So I sourced because I had no money, basically. Even the training that I was sent on by the couple, they sponsored me, and their sponsorship was, I'm going to repay you in source deals. I'll go out and do a lot of the legwork. In hindsight, they did much better than me out of the deal. When I look at some of the deals they got, I think at the time it was an absolute blessing. Now I look back as an investor going, I need to find a version of me. But yeah, no, it worked really well. It was a good marriage, and we sourced heavily. Obviously, we'd just come out of the last crash, as we call it, and the market was quite easy to find deals. It was definitely estate agents ringing me rather than what people are experiencing today. Oh, it's crazy night and day. Like, talking to people about it today, people are like, oh, the market will never get back to that. It will at some point. But honestly, whenever my phone would ring back then, this is 2008, late 2008, early 2009, 2010, it was pretty much always a money in, money out deal, or there or thereabouts.
Wow. Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And obviously, as the market suppressed, lenders stepped away, so buyers stepped away. There was more supply than there was that people could buy it. So we were filling our boots. And now I've got agents that were giving me 3 or 4 deals a week at the time, who I've not spoken to in 6 years because they don't need me at the minute. So.
They'll be back.
They'll be back. They will be back. I'm looking forward to it as well. But so that was how we started. We were building portfolios for other people, and this was long before sourcing regulation and all of the increased compliance. Now it was very old school.
Well, I was going to ask, what did the day of Danny the Sourcer look like back then?
Literally speaking to people. Yeah, vaguely. I did a lot of networking, and it was literally agents and buyers. That was all I ever did. We covered a decent radius because we were getting a lot of buyers. But that was it. Agents and potential buyers. That's all we ever did back then for the first probably 18 months. Everyone goes, "Oh, you saw so many deals," and I go, without deflecting from myself, in the market that we were in, it was pretty easy. I wasn't significantly impressive. I was definitely blessed by the market. That was it.
Right.
But we talk a lot, don't we, about how the market works in opposites. So when it's easier to find deals, it's harder to raise money. So then it was harder to dig out buyers and find people that were keen on buying than it was to find the deals. Now, obviously, it's flipped and it's harder to find the deals, and it's buyers are 10 a penny at the minute. So it's an interesting. I've now seen a full cycle, but that when on a buying level, that would have been the easiest period. And one of the, without having too many big regrets, was that I didn't raise enough money early enough. I didn't step into the third party finance. I got really comfortable sourcing.
Right.
It was easy to take a few grand for a deal.
Yeah.
That was much easier than going and raising money and trying to buy it myself. And it just took me too long, probably. I didn't buy a property for between 18 months and 2 years. Didn't buy a single property. Yeah, I was just sourcing solely.
Yeah. Did you do well out of the sourcing then?
Yeah, very well. Yeah. And it helped us build subsidiary businesses. I had a letting agency. I only sold at the start of COVID.
That's on my list of questions.
Yeah.
So how do you go about? Where does the idea of a lettings business come from, and how do you start?
If you want my advice on how to start, the answer is don't.
Okay. Noted.
It's got so hard as a lettings. The industry's got very, very difficult. Margins have been squeezed very, very tight with all of the legislation increase, ban on tenant fees, all of that. It's a very tight margin business, and it's thankless. It's a really thankless business because you spend a lot of your time as a letting agent between a tenant who's pissed off at the landlord or the landlord who's pissed off at the tenant. It's very rarely a marriage made in heaven. Right. So it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. You need a big volume now to be very profitable as a letting agency. Or you basically either need a small volume or a big volume. It's the guys in the middle that can't make any money anymore.
Right.
So it's a tough business. But we started at the time, and it was great at the time. Because we were sourcing so many deals, and the people we were sourcing to were saying, "Who's going to manage it? Who's going to manage it?" Yeah. So we got to 400 or 500 tenancies, which is a very decent sized letting agency within 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Now, the average 10-year letting agency has between 100 and 150 tenancies, and we got to 400 or 500 in the first few years. So we got to a decent size as a letting agency.
Did you have to do any training or anything to do it, or do you just?
No, again, not at the time. In 2008, 2009, it was. I mean, I'm making it sound like the Wild West, but it was
the Wild
considerably
Northwest.
less. Yeah. Relative in certain parts. It was considerably less red tape and litigation and legislation. Than there is now. Legislation can be a good thing or a bad thing. We talk a lot about cause and effect, and the introduction of legislation driving rents up and house prices up and all of that. But yeah, it's made letting agency as a business a bit tougher. So I literally at the time I ordered some online manual that came in the post that was like this thick on how to start and operate a letting agency, proper old school. I got to work through that. I was very fortunate that a lot of our early business was with people we were sourcing to, so we had a good relationship with them, and they were probably a bit more understanding. I'm 23, 24, set up a business I've never had any experience in, and to be honest, at the time, winging it a little bit. So they were arguably a bit more understanding. But no, there was no qualification. There was no, at the time, no client money protection. DPS had just come around, so you didn't need the DPS, you needed deposit protections and all of that. But professional indemnity, all of these things have been added over the years to sort of increase legislation. So it's been a changing market. But at the start, it was literally back bedroom, decided to start a letting agency, and away we go.
Yeah,
that was it.
Fantastic. Yeah. But you grew that, as you say, quite a lot, and then sold it at the beginning of the pandemic.
At its biggest, we got to about 1,200 tenancies, which is big. We lost and gave away quite a lot of those tenancies. We used to have an annual landlord cleanse, the old 80-20 rule, where landlords just refused to get maintenance done, or they would never, they didn't want to pay for anything. Carnage. So we used to have an annual cull of landlords that weren't great, and we when we sold, we took it down to about 750 tenancies by the point we sold.
Right.
It's a reasonable size, a good size letting agency.
Yeah.
Should have sold years before. I had a much bigger offer years before to sell. Letting agents lost their value as legislation increased. So the multiple used to be bigger when it was easier to make money. Now it's become a lot harder to make money. The multiple of turnover to sale price has dropped a little bit, let's say. So again,
so who did you sell it to then? Was it a bigger place, a bigger lettings place?
Yeah, a bigger independent agent who was going around the Northwest just buying I think they bought 4 or 5 in the year. So I think they had a big backer and they were looking to buy them. So
I've got a friend of mine up here who's an estate agent, and he's buying letting agencies left, right, and centre. He's up to, I think he's 1,500 under management at the minute.
Oh, amazing!
So,
good.
And he's always looking.
It makes sense. I think estate agents. This is something I saw during the last crash, as it were. When they were selling less, that's when they all started letting agencies.
Right.
So all of the estate agents were jumping on it at the point that I started my agency. And it was because they weren't getting the income from sales that they needed a more consistent income. So like the Countrywide never used to really touch lettings, like Entwistle Green, Bridgeford and all of that. They were always sales. And then before you knew it, they all had a lettings arm. And then, that was where a lot of their energy was focused because the market was they all wanted that more guaranteed income during the period.
Yeah.
if they drop them again in the future if the market goes red hot.
Yeah, well, that's what he was saying to me. That I asked him why lettings specifically, and that's exactly what he said. That if you're just a sales only business, you're not protected in any way from changes in market circumstances. So yeah, and that was interesting to me. So yeah, very good. So during your lettings time, did that enable you to find the properties from landlords, or did you build your portfolio during that time?
Yeah, we started buying quite a lot. So even the lettings, I stepped away from the lettings really 5 or 6 years ago, and it was operating without me even for a number of years before we sold it. I got myself out. I'm very return on time driven, and I spend my energies in the highest returning activities. It's High Performance Habits by Brandon Burchard. It's one of my favorite books, and he always talks about high performing activities getting the best return for as little time as possible. And I knew that lettings was very time consuming and quite poorly returning, so I sort of stepped back and started to focus more on deals and money, and that's pretty much where I spent 90% at the time, probably 99% of my time. More recently, marketing has started to become a bit more prevalent for us, and social media and whatnot, which has snuck in as the third pillar, I would say, for me now. But the two pillars for probably the last 10 years has been deals and money. How do we find deals? How do we find money? And yeah, the letting agency grew to a good size because we were chucking a lot of our own tenancies in as well. We went very big into the HMO market. We've always tried to stay a little bit ahead of the curve in what we've done. So we got into HMOs as they are now, because you'll remember 15, 20 years ago, HMOs were called bedsits, and they were perceived as just being shitholes for the dregs of society. And we very quickly realized that actually there's a demand here for people who aren't dregs of society for there not to be shitholes, to get a nice ensuite room in a good location. So we jumped on HMOs probably slightly ahead of the curve. We jumped on social housing a little bit ahead of the curve. We got into conversion a little bit, like PD, office to residential. We got into that a bit ahead of the curve. And now we've probably got into high street conversions a little bit ahead of the curve. So we've always tried to spot a bit of a trend, or a trend that we think is coming, and get a little bit ahead of everybody else, and then sell to everybody else when it's top of the market. And that's what we did with HMOs. We got to collectively, me, multiple JVs, we got to about 350 HMO rooms at our peak.
Wow.
We're down to about 100 now, and we sold a lot of them when we thought HMOs had hit a peak in the market, and we could realize a good price based on yield, basically. So that's always been my strategy. What do I think the trend is? I know you're working on it, aren't you, as well, with your niche there in the Northeast? What do I think the trend is, and how can I get in early enough to make the best margin? Because you make the most when you get in on the wave earliest. That's the reality.
Yeah, that's it. But there's an element of calculated risk in that as well, isn't there? So
100%.
Again, it's qualifying the area, the deal, and narrowing it down to the point where at least you've got your exits and the risk is mitigated.
We've been buying stuff very recently, even just before COVID, and as COVID hit. Before COVID hit, we were buying stuff on the high street. People were going, "Why are you buying on the high street? The high street is dead." Like, no, that was never our opinion. Our opinion is big retail is dead. The high street can survive providing you can turn these big retail units into smaller retail units that people can afford and independent startups can get into. Like, there was this huge perception that the high street is dead. The high street as it was dying, but the high street can change, and when it does change, there'll be a load of opportunity there. So we jumped on that probably earlier than most people, and people were saying we were being a bit stupid, and now everything is class MA and high street, split it down. And,
fashionable now, isn't it?
You pay a little bit of a premium the more you get. The later you get in, it's going to start costing you a premium ultimately to get in there. So it's very. I think I'm an obsessive about the market and how the market moves in cycles, and how people will say that that's it and that's it forever. It won't be. The market will change back round, and we will have another cycle. And I love watching a lot of it. COVID's been fascinating to me. I've absolutely loved it. Just as an observer of people saying London's dead and it's never going to come back, and everybody's moved to the city, and everyone's moved to the country, and everyone wants a garden, and you sit there going, oh my god, this is so temporary. Everyone's reacting so emotionally, it's untrue. It's for a caveman like me that has a very logical way of thinking. It's very interesting. I find it fascinating.
Yeah. And going back to your three pillars, the money, deals, and now social media, the thing that I always really like about stuff that you post on social media is the talk of abundance.
Yeah.
And it's something that happened to me maybe a year or two, well, 2 years ago, moving from what's known as a scarcity mindset, where everything is I can't afford this, or I've got to keep my money for that, I won't spend it on this, I can't afford that, I won't be able to get the money to do this, to a mindset where actually there's more money out there than soft mick, and I will be able to find the money if the deal's right, and all the rest of it. And when did that happen for you? Because this isn't something that people are brought up knowing. This is something that you actually have to, well, I found I had to train myself to understand it.
Oh, it's 100% not natural for me. It's now very natural for me. Like I think I learned a couple of various stages across my whole time in the market, speaking to a lot of wealthy people and understanding how they think and like their opinions on money. People without money generally tend to care about money more than people with it. And that's because it's something they don't have. So there's this natural way that we seem to have as people of putting money on a pedestal. And actually, if COVID's not proven more than any period that there is an abundance of money, and they literally can and do just print it and throw it into the system, when what there isn't a lot of is skill, compassion, the right approach, understanding, value. I've kind of learned over the last 15 years that just because somebody has a lot of money doesn't make them better. Yeah. I remember sitting in front of a guy who had 30 million in unencumbered commercial property and calling him an idiot. And obviously I'm 24, 25, and I didn't mean you're an idiot as a whole. I just meant, you could do so much more with this money than what you've actually done. He had a very, very successful business, incredibly successful business. And he was literally just taking the profits and going, boom, I'm going to pump that into commercial assets and build this massive portfolio. But he didn't understand really leverage. He didn't really understand resi. He had reservations about resi that were from just a lack of knowledge. Yeah. He didn't really understand return on investment, like all of the absolute basics that like we kind of look at as being really basics around property. This guy's got 30 million unencumbered portfolio. I'm thinking, I know more than you about property. Yeah. You've got a shitload more than me at this stage, by the way, a phenomenal amount more than me. But I know a lot more than you. So just because you've got great knowledge and earning great money in another area, that doesn't mean you're better than me in this space.
Yeah.
And I think that was a massive realization for me, because I'd have been about 24, 25 at the point of that conversation. And we went on to do phenomenal amounts with this guy, wonderful bloke, but very thankful, I think, for what we helped him do as well. Turning 30 million of unencumbered money when you can get money at 4% and make 20, 25% on it, he's losing money. So he's like, getting that across to him kind of made me realize actually the money isn't the valuable thing here. It's a knowledge on how to use money, and money is so liquid. I speak to people all the time, and everyone has a little bit of money, varying levels. Everybody knows somebody who's got a lot of money, but not too many people knew a lot of people on how to use it the right way, or with an idea, a strategy, a plan, or something of value. So I think that was a huge realization for me. And I've had a couple of cases where a scarcity mindset has been costly and damaging.
All right.
I think it costs. Yeah, I think so. I think couple of cases where I've probably been a bit greedier in a deal than I needed to be because of being financially motivated by the deal. And it's arguably impacted the getting that deal through, or relationship with a partner in that deal, or whatever it may be. Very early doors and that was as I was transitioning from a scarcity to abundance mindset. Whereas now I'd be like, I want my partner to be happier than or as happy as me, at least, in the deal, than make a few extra quid than them, or to devalue them. So yeah, very, very interesting process. But your thoughts are your things, aren't you? So if you think you're skint, you're generally skint, and that's a genuine way. If the whole every pound's a prisoner, and people, people not wanting to pay somebody to do a job. I have a simple rule that I've learned, and I can't remember what book this came from. I think it came from Who Not How. But I have a pound per hour value, and I do nothing below that pound per hour value, because it makes zero sense. If I do, honestly, I don't change a light bulb in my house. I wouldn't garden at home. I very rarely cook. If I'm cooking, it's for like a sentimental, I'm actually making an emotional effort thing, rather than I'm going to cook dinner because that's what we do. We will delegate everything now. Because everything, absolutely, like you wouldn't believe, everything. Because if I'm going to spend my time doing a £20 an hour task, and I know I can make £1,000 per hour, I've lost money in that hour.
Yeah.
And that's the simplest way I've ever thought of everything. So I will pay. We just pay. And it's been, if it doesn't fall under deals, money, marketing, largely we will pay somebody to do it.
Wow, that's really interesting, because I mean, people say that to me all the time, because I love nothing more than going ripping out properties and stuff.
Oh God.
And I say it's like my stress relief. Sure, I could pay somebody to do it, but what I might have something else to do during that time, or I might be able to go to work to earn more than pay somebody. But I don't want to go to work. That's the whole point. That one of the main reasons I'm doing it is so I'm not at work. So, and I might be able to go and do some viewings or something during that time, but it wouldn't fill the whole time that I'd be there. So I struggle with that a little bit.
I think that has an emotional value to you that's probably a bit worth a bit much more than the money, effectively. So there will be certain things that I don't do nothing apart from work 24 hours. So I do things that will relieve time.
And play on your phone.
Mainly reply to Instagram messages at 3 a.m. is the norm. But so when it comes to work, though, honestly, the whole work on your weaknesses thing, I find that such a myth. I think it's ridiculous. Well, I'm going to focus my energy on trying to get slightly better at something I'm not naturally good at, when I can spend my time doing the things I know I'm good at, and I can delegate everything else. So I think if ripping out a house serves a non-financial purpose for you, then it has a value. But no, I'm not ripping out houses. God, no. I make a lot of jokes about how I'm rarely seen on site. It's not my environment.
No. You made a couple of references to some books there, and one of the things you probably don't like being called an influencer, and it's a term that I never really believed. I'm just like you, actually. I thought this whole social media thing was full of people pouting with bum implants and standing in front of cars that don't belong to them. That's what I thought the whole social media thing was. But for somebody that's educated like myself, apparently, I mean, I bought my qualifications off eBay, but that's just putting it out there. But for someone like me, I've never read a book, right? Until I started looking at your stuff on social media. I'd read a book called Sail the Salmon when I was 8, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I'd never, ever, God's honest truth, I'd never read a book. But now, since like you put some up the other day about Stephen Bartlett's book, Happy Sexy Millionaire, read it in a day, or listened to it in a day. And I just now I can't get enough. So have you always been a reader then? or is it like?
Yeah. Do you know what? As a kid, see Matilda. As a kid, that was me. I'd literally go. I was obsessed. I can remember between like the ages of 7 and 12, 13. Like a treat for me was go, because poor background, go to the library, rent out books and read books, and that was what I did as a kid. And then I stopped, and I probably didn't do it for, apart from uni books, I didn't do it for 10, 13 years when rugby sort of came into my life, and rugby was the new fascination and obsession. But yeah, I've always enjoyed learning. I think there's so much power in learning. But I only want to learn relevant stuff. Like, I don't have a real thirst for general knowledge, and like people know the most pointless things sometimes, and you go, it's great that you know that, but what's it serving you, kind of thing. And maybe that was uni that put me off that, when I could do algebra to derivatives and then realized it's completely pointless in the real world. But then when I've got back into sort of self-help, for want of a better word, and the self-improvement space, reading, well, maybe not reading, because some people don't enjoy the actual process of reading, but learning and self-improvement has such a value. Like it's unbelievable. I just use it a lot as a reminder, as a sort of trigger of, yes, I'm doing that right, or it makes me think, am I actually doing that right? Like, my approach is this book's telling me a successful person does X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Is
there a change that I could make that would improve me, my mood, my family, my environment, whatever it may be? So the idea of taking an idea and implementing it and seeing it, if it can improve my life in any way, or the people that I care about's life in any way, that's what I like, definitely. I have a big thirst for that. And I think, my business partner is beyond natural, and I hate it. It drives me wild that he's such a naturally capable person. You read High Performance Habits, and he's got every one of them naturally. He doesn't read any books. He's not interested. Right. He'll read a book once a year when we're away together, because I say to him, you should have a read of this. And he really enjoys it. But he's just, in his mind, he's just so busy. He's got so much on. I haven't got time to do any reading and all of that. And I couldn't be what I am without reading. Whereas he can. And, it comes very, very naturally to him. So hopefully he doesn't listen to this, because he'll be reminding me all week. But
so this is Nathan,
it's
is it?
So interesting. Nathan, very, very capable, incredibly capable of what he does. He's a bit of a freak of nature, and I'm aware that most people aren't like him. He's the anomaly. Like, he's a complete anomaly. I'm nothing like him on a natural ability level in business. I have to read, and I have to constantly remind myself and write things down and set goals and targets and all of these things that actually most people, 99.99999%, need to actually implement if they want to improve themselves. But he's an oddity. He's a freak of nature.
Sounds like it's a great JV, that, because isn't the deal, I've heard you mention it before, you kind of raise the finance and he is that how it works?
Generally, so we collectively, I've historically found more deals than him, but he's got good contacts as well. So he's West Yorkshire based, I'm Northwest based, so we do deals along the M62 corridor. Historically, I've found the deals and the money, and then he gets the keys, and I don't go on site until it's time for an Instagram picture at the end, basically. Which we always joke about, and I think we both think we've got the better part of the deal. He's not. I try and describe this to people all of the time. He's probably not as naturally personable as me. He's obsessed and on a mission, and that mission is his sole goal. So if you waste too much time talking to too many different people about things that might not go anywhere, for him, he sees that as a sort of taking away. Whereas I'm a bit different, where I'll spend a load of time with a load of people, and if 10% of it converts, we had this chat just before we came on, didn't we? If 10% converts, or you reach the right person, you get the right message, I believe it always comes back to you. So he doesn't do social media. He says, I've got you for that. He doesn't really network. He says, I've got you for that. So when it comes to building, I say, I've got you for that. Because I have got no interest. So it works very, very well. Very, very well. But he's got much bigger goals than I have. 100%. I've got quite big goals by a standard person's sort of perspective, but yeah, he's on to big things.
Yeah, I seen him on the. You did a call on a Monday Prosperity.
Yeah.
So for those listening, Prosperity Network, which Danny runs, I'm a member of, and every Monday there's a really interesting call that everybody's free to join. And Nathan did that, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I mean, tales of going into places in Bradford and pulling people out by the neck and things like that. I've just, and he looks like he's a big lad as well. So.
Oh, he's a big unit. Yeah. You wouldn't want to share a dinner with him. Let's put it that way.
There's no sharing goes on by the looks of him.
No. Plenty of when me and him walk into a restaurant, we bring the extra stuff in. But no, he's honestly, I speak a lot about him. I admire him a lot on a business level. He's pretty much one of my only go-tos because he's very, very fair, very, very reasonable. Like he will always do the right thing, even if it comes at a cost for him, which I think is an incredible quality. And his obsession and insistence on hitting goals and setting targets and all of these things, just it's very impressive to watch somebody like that in action. Like it's an experience. I'm always, when he's working. Like there's no distracting him. He's just in the zone. And for someone like me, I'm always having to think, right, I need to get myself back into it now. I need to. I've had 5 minutes, and when you that transition between roles and tasks and all of these things, it's just so fucking annoying. It's like watching a robot. Honestly, it's
really right.
I think I'm pretty capable. I'm watching those guys. Bastard, like you got it all dialed down here. So very capable guy, very, very capable. But if you want somebody to talk to at length and be personable, I'm probably the better of the two of us.
Right. Yeah. And you're doing your first developments, like proper build out from the ground stuff at the minute. Is that right?
Yeah. We've done a little bit. We've done a little bit of new build, but new build apartments, really historical. Our background for the last 5 or 6 years has been conversion specialists. So we would do commercial to residential, 200 to 300 units a year for pretty much the last 5 or 6 years, quite consistently, and in good volume. But we never really stepped into the high-end new build space, and just managed to fall on an absolute wonder of a plot. We're building 4 houses, GDV somewhere between 8 and 9 million for the 4 combined, so between 2 and 2.25 each, roughly. And it's a different space. I mean, it's not that different for me because
you don't go on site.
It's the same for me. I've had to raise a certain amount of money. We've got to market them to sell them, and we found the deal. And I'm kind of all right. Let's see you at the end. Send me some pictures for Instagram, and away we go.
And I'll say, get rich in 7 days.
Yeah. So say this to everybody, they all get rich in 7 days. It takes 7 days to get an answer off people in this market if you're lucky. So I don't know how you're getting rich in 7 days. So we've stepped into high-end new build, and it will be a good experience. I think a lot of people are sort of interested why we're doing it at the minute, and is the market at its peak and all of that. But we're pretty comfortable with where the market is for the short foreseeable future, and our perception of the high end. I think so, and I think politically, with what's going on, there will be some legs injected into the system, probably through policy and vote-winning decisions that will likely come, especially now they've got a leadership contest, so somebody's going to be setting standards and making offers in that leadership contest that they've then got to come and deliver on. We've got a budget in November that I think they'll probably take some steps to inject. And then we've got the Tories, who are in a bit of political trouble. So they're probably, until the next election, going to try and win everybody over with, look how much we're helping you. So I very much anticipate there's a little bit of legs in it yet. 18 months to 2 years. And anyway, £2 million properties, our perspective is anyone that's got £2 million today would usually have £2 million plus in any market, because as we all know, sadly, it's not the wealthy that get particularly hit during recessions and house price crashes.
Yeah.
It's sadly the 99.9% of folk who feel most pain during those periods. So we think it's a pretty bulletproof market at the higher end. So touch wood, we'll see.
Yeah. And is that where your vision is going? Are you going down that? No,
I'm not that bothered. No, I don't have any preference anymore, particularly. We will do anything that's a deal now, because we've done 15 years in everything that's the full spectrum.
Yeah.
I would buy a buy-to-let that was a good deal, we would do a 100-unit conversion that's a good deal. We don't really have a preference. We'll judge each deal in its own independent right. Everything we do is demand driven. So if we're confident in the demand that there is in the market, we do it. I don't know. It's great for ego building out 2 million pound houses, and it looks wonderful on Instagram. But when it comes down to it, for me, it's margins. Everything's margin driven. If I can make a 30% margin on a buy-to-let or a 30% margin building a 2 million pound house, it's the same
You'll
thing,
do them
really,
both.
just different scales. Yeah, probably end up doing them both, much to my wife's dismay. We're convinced that we have enough now, and we should almost certainly stop.
But then what would you do?
I don't know what else I'd do.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's the same point. I don't know what I'd do. I've had this discussion with a few people, and even one chap, a billionaire, and we're having discussions about him, and it was, what would he do if he retired? Like, what do? You go and get an allotment and have the best allotment in the, a lot of the old boys that know, some very, very wealthy older boys, and they're still doing it. And average Joe goes, "Oh, why are you still working at your age? You're 75. You've got enough money. Why don't you stop?"
Yeah.
And now I can understand like why they don't stop, because what do they do? I guess a lot of those people will probably die. Like, sadly, if you what's your purpose at that point in time? It's an interesting one, definitely.
Yeah, you see it all the time. I see it all the time in my job. People like strive for retirement, and as soon as retirement comes and they've got literally nothing left to do, the brain switches off. They go very, very cognitively, they slow right down, and before you know it, a lot of them don't last very long because there's nothing there. Do you know what I mean? And that old cliche that it's a journey, not a destination. Well, the destination is the journey. It's finding. I believe that finding something that you enjoy doing, that you can see yourself doing for the long term, that keeps you occupied, that spins off enough so that you can enjoy yourself while still remaining doing that. I think that is where it's at.
Well, luckily, retirement age is going up for everybody, if that's politically helpful. So not everyone's not going to have the choice pretty soon, unless they find a better solution on what they want to do with their lives. I think.
Yeah, and you get to live on a handful of gravel a week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can afford to have your electric on for 3 hours or something. It's very challenging. I presume we won't go down a political rabbit hole, because this will be the longest podcast you've ever had.
No. Well, I just want to. I've only got a couple of things that I want to ask you. Cool. The first thing is, you mentioned right at the beginning goals. So you said you've still got big goals. Are you going to share us what your goals are, or are you keeping them to yourself?
Yeah, my goals is a very interesting one. I always complain about this to people, and it's the biggest first world complaint I've ever made, and I'm entirely aware of it. It's not. I'm not trying to complain from a privileged perspective, but when you will have seen in prosperity, a lot of the time we talk about dream life and setting what your dream life looks like on a time perspective, what you're doing, how often you're traveling, what kind of house you live in. And all of that, and then costing that out. So actually working out, what does that cost? So if I want to go on 4,000 or 5,000 pound holidays a year, that's 20 grand a year, which is about 1,600 quid a month, and then sort of attributing that to property. How am I going to make that from property to afford to be able to do that? And that's the way I always work. So I lost a load of momentum when I hit my dream life figure.
Right.
A load.
Did you?
Because then so bad. A load of momentum and a load of motivation completely drained out of me at that point. It's about 2017, I would say, about 5-6 years ago, on an estimate. And I sat there and going, well, I wrote down what my dream life would look like, and now I can afford it. So what do I have to do as the dream life? Like, what's the next level? Because similar to you, we're northern, so I've got friends who spend 50 grand a month and buy everything that's incredible. Spend 5 grand on a dining chair. I've not got that in me. I find that grotesque. Like, I can't do that as a northern working class bloke. I don't have the ability to now spend the amount that we earn.
Right.
So we've more transitioned. When I say I've got big goals, it's more we want to play a big game. It's become a bit of a game, really, and the measuring stick of any deal is how good the deal is on a numbers perspective, really.
Yeah.
Because earning much more money won't change my life too much. That's a strange position.
No,
to
it's
be in
probably,
a very,
I can understand that. They
first
say
world
that
position.
once you get past, I think, is it 78 grand a year as an income,
Right.
any earning extra over that doesn't improve people's well-being. Once your needs are met with a bit extra, anything after that doesn't. So once you've achieved your dream lifestyle, which I'm sure is much more than 78 grand a year, how much more is going to really raise the bar for you in terms of how good you feel in yourself?
It doesn't change anything that much significantly. So for me now, my big goals are about accomplishment and moving into new areas. So we're just doing our first apart hotel. We're just doing a 21 unit apart hotel, very high spec, sort of first in our area. That will be ready in August, launching in August, and we'll see how that goes. And if that's a model that goes well, we really want to run with that. And we've got now a property in Harrogate we're looking at doing the same thing with. And one of our goals is to get to 100 keys, so 100 apartments, or they're effectively apart hotels, but 100 keys for each unit. And that's an initial goal for us, but that's more about, this is a new space I want to be in, and I want to do decent things inside of that space. Goals aren't really monetary anymore. I mean, they are, because that's the measurement ultimately. That's how all people are always going to measure. But I won't do anything anymore that I don't enjoy. I won't do it now. And I did a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy early doors, because sacrifice and all of that means that you have to, especially being on site. I can assure you, I joke now about how little time I spent on site. I spent far too much time on site arguing with builders early doors. So I think it's a break earned. So yeah, big goals, probably in independent strategies, things like 100 keys. I think we want to do our first 100 million development, GDV, one development. That would be incredible if we could hit that. Other than that, it's kind of keep doing life as we are now. I enjoy it. We spend 10 weeks in the UK, then go away for 4 or 5 weeks on a cycle. Pretty good balance on friendships. People in my life are the people I want in my life at the minute. Good network, good environment. We have most of our surroundings are abundant driven. So I think if we can keep that up, no kids yet. That helps on the traveling side.
Yeah, well, it does. Yeah, I mean, our travel is my wife and I. We're able to travel a bit more now, because our kids have got to the point where they've grown up, and like they don't need to come with us anymore. And they're at the age now where we can leave the dogs with them as well. So we're not worried that they'll trash the house. So yeah,
on the use then,
it's slave labor as well, isn't it? So. But yeah, so it helps when kids are not much of a factor.
Yeah.
So the final thing I wanted to talk about was, and it's really interesting to me, is this whole property financial freedom in a month, get rich quick, property education industry that's going on. And what's your opinion of this industry that you're in?
We were on about politics. You've gone to the one subject that's worse. This could go on quite a while. Oh, sure. I've been around the education space for 15 years now, starting as a student and progressing all of the way through with a company that I did my education with, to now obviously having, well, I guess it's technically an education company, but I really begrudge saying that because I know that everybody kind of gets lumped in the same corner and tarred with the same brush. I have very strong opinions on a lot of it. I think that at the time when I did it, it was needed. It was the only thing. Like, social media was nowhere, it didn't really exist. The internet was comparatively new and had nowhere near the body of information available as it does now. Communication was nothing as instant as it is now. So, you would literally have to travel. We have a Zoom every Monday night, 150 people on it. That in 2008, 2009 was never happening. It wasn't a thing. So it was needed back then, and it served its purpose. But the problem was, as social media and the information era started, none of these organizations really adapted to it, and none of them started to change their product to suit what people could get. So the price in 2008 was 25 grand, and it's still 25 grand. You're largely still paying the same amount for information that you can now get for a fraction of the price. And when I did it, it was a secret source. The only way you could speak to and learn from property was to either find somebody who was a property investor in your area that would kind of help you out, or go to one of these education programs, really. So I needed it. I genuinely believe that it served a purpose for me. In mid 2010s, like 15, 16, it started to really change, and I started to become a bit wary of the space, because it then became about people putting themselves on a pedestal, and everybody was fighting to stay on a pedestal because they were competing, because now more people were coming to the space. If you could get somebody free in 30 days, next guy wanted to do it in 25 days. And then it's, financial freedom became this big, financial freedom. And then we've worked our way down to 7 days now, or one deal. Like, people saying all the time, I've done it in one deal. And okay. So people were fighting to carry on selling a product that people started to need a bit less. So the dreams and the promises started to get bigger. I don't think it started off as a disingenuous place. I really don't. I just think it's ended up there. And it's because people want to keep selling a product that people probably need a bit less. When I came through, I needed information. I needed the knowledge, the content. We weren't in the information era. Whereas now, if I was starting again, I'm pretty confident I could get a lot of the information from other sources. What I think people need now are accountability, like a support group, peer group, just to be consistently updated with what's happening in the market, variations of like approaches. What are you doing? What can I do? I think that has a bigger value now, but you don't need to pay 25 grand for that.
No, absolutely.
That's where the market's completely changed. So I don't not value education. I obviously value it massively, but I don't think people should be spending so much money for shitty education and false promises. And that's why we pressed the button on prosperity, but don't particularly sell it that hard. I've probably gone too far the other way. Like, I'm really disengaged from sales, and I speak to a lot of people and they go, "Hell, you could be 10 times the size. You just need to press this a bit harder." I'm going, I'm happy with the organic growth. I think we've got a kind of cap on where I really want us to be, because for me, it's not a primary business. It's my secondary accidental business that I started off when COVID hit, because I was pissed off at every other supplier, basically. When COVID hit, people, the other education people did, a lot of them did one of two things. They either disappeared on people and stopped communicating, or they started to sell based on fear. They were using people's fear and going, the market's going to be, it's going to crash, everything's going to go to shit, it's going to be a great opportunity, you need to get really educated now. And I thought both those things were really wrong at the time, when we were all, to be honest, a bit scared about what was going on anyway, because nobody had a bloody clue. So to come out and either not communicate with people or to try and sell them based on a fear that you're trying to implement, I found it so wrong. So we started the Zooms, as you know, literally as I put a post out on Instagram saying, just going to do a Zoom call. I didn't even know what Zoom was at the time. Somebody told me what Zoom was, but I said I'm just going to do a Zoom call because I'm fed up of people saying X, Y, and Z. Let's all get together and just see how everybody's feeling and what we can do, what approaches we need to take, and all of that. We had 900 people on a call that week.
Right. Wow.
Honestly, it was crazy.
900.
900 people. It was absolutely mad. We had a limit. There was a Zoom limit, I think, of 300. I can't remember the exact number at the time. So I had to do the same call 3 times in a week because I'm a caveman. I hadn't really worked out that I could pay more and get up to 1,000 people on Zoom. So I think the free amount was like 300 or something. So we did the same call 3 times in a week. And then there was just like, all right, okay, we'll do them regularly. We got a couple of speakers on, and it was honestly 12 weeks in. Was it May when lockdown lifted the first one?
Yeah.
We were like, right, we're done here. That's it. And then people were going, well, what's next? And I'm going, we've not got plans for it. We haven't planned on it being next.
Yeah.
It was literally an accidental thing, and that's when the idea of prosperity kind of reared its head a little bit. So yeah, it was a complete accident. Honestly, I had zero intentions.
Yeah.
I'd actually told other suppliers that they should do the prosperity model. I told long before, this was just before COVID actually, just before COVID, I remember being on a discussion with an education company saying, I think you should do this. I don't want to do it because I'm a developer, I don't really have the time. And they basically told me flat out I was wrong.
Right.
Model wouldn't work. Seminar world will be back, everything will bounce back. Right, okay, no problem. And now they're all copying the model.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it now.
Yeah.
So it's interesting transition.
Yeah, well, I've sampled quite a lot of the education space, and I've settled on prosperity, and I think the fact that it's slightly limited in the wherever it's at the minute, I think gives it an air of exclusivity almost, and I think that really makes the people that are in it much more of a community. Whereas when you see these places that have got 20,000 members, and it's it makes my skin crawl a bit because there's nothing that it's vacuous. Whereas with prosperity, it's not, and the stuff that you get for the minimal outlay comparatively is fantastic. So I'm
in danger. I'm aware I'm in big danger of giving too much for too little, but I'd rather it be that way. I honestly, my biggest fear in the space that we're in is that people feeling like they've not got value. Because I've seen too much of that, and that's always the complaint from other people. I paid 20 odd grand, didn't really get what I expected. So I don't, even if people didn't get what they expected from us, they've paid 50, 60 quid, 70 quid a month, whatever they've paid, whatever level they decide. I've not took somebody's life savings for them to establish they're not good at property, or they don't want to do property, or whatever it may be. And I think you've probably seen, we generally now tend to attract people that don't. If you sell dreams to people, you find people who want to believe in dreams.
Yep.
And they're often the people that get very disappointed and angry when they find out the dream isn't real. So we don't attract none of that really. We don't have anybody that comes in there in the hope of getting financially free in 7 days or 30 days or whatever it is, because we really don't push that. So a lot of these organizations created their own enemies by going, you can do this, and then when people find out they really couldn't do it, like I'm capable, I can get financially free in 7 days. I completely believe that. I think I'm very, very capable. I've never met somebody who has. So yeah, when you get people buying on the basis of they think they can, and they find out very quickly they can't, and they've spent 20 grand to find out that they can't, I think that's why people get a bad name, and I couldn't sleep if that was the perspective.
Yeah, I think the thing with property is that literally anybody could do it, but it is not easy. There's an awful lot of grind that goes on just to even start getting the momentum, and then to maintain that and even build it. It is hard enough that the vast majority of people won't be able to do it or sustain it. And so to actually get anywhere with it takes an awful lot of grit and mental fortitude. And that is the difficulty in property. The actual strategies, the numbers and all the rest of it, it's not rocket science, is it? But actually showing up, being consistent, taking action regularly, and actually digging in. That's where the trick is in property, if there is a magic
100%.
trick.
Well, my belief is it's simple, not easy. Whereas everybody else will advertise
That's a better way of saying it than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, everyone else advertises it as being easy, not simple. So they say it's easy to do, but you really need this golden bit of knowledge that, it's not simple to do, it's very complicated, but it's easy if you've got this golden nugget from me. And I think, well, actually, the processes themselves are relatively simple, but it's not easy to do because you've got to do a lot of shitty, boring things consistently for quite a long period. You'll have some awkward discussions. You're going to have some disappointments. You're going to get shafted by a couple of people potentially who don't do what they say they're going to do. And most people, sadly, aren't cut out for that or really need to train themselves to become better at dealing with those things.
Yeah.
Success really isn't for everyone because it is hard emotionally and energy wise, but the process itself is really simple. I do a lot of very basic things, and because our results are exceptional, they look exceptional. I don't think I do anything exceptional. I do a lot of things very, very consistently for a long period and have done for 15 years, and I say this to everybody. They go, well, I'm not getting your results. And I'm going, well, you've got another 14 years of doing the same shit. You probably will be getting the same results. But that doesn't sell a 25 grand package, me saying you've got 15 years of doing really boring, monotonous things, but it can change your life 100%.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, I've got a year of really exciting, energetic things and everything's going to go lovely and smoothly. And then I'll be rich and on a beach and life's good. And it's just not the way. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, really. But it's definitely worth it when you start getting things that start going right for you. When you actually when you're first starting off and you do your first deal and you see the refinance happen and then so you get a tenant in and you the money starts coming in. Then you do your next one and it's bigger and you actually can feel it then. And then when you start getting people invested in you and then you start believing that there's money out there. And people will believe in you, and things just get bigger and bigger. But then the risk comes, and you've got to qualify it because it's people's money you're using. So you need to calculate your risk properly and work out your exits. But then you get a track record, and it's a path, it's a progression that you've got to go along. You can't just do it in a month or one deal. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, 100%. And success is winning more than you're losing. And making sure somebody else doesn't lose out when it should be you that's lost because you deserve it. I've always believed that. I think there's been a couple of cases, I have a couple of JVs where I've lost money to make sure people who backed me didn't lose. And I think there's too many people who want to get into property who aren't willing to lose sometimes. And honestly, if you have any intentions of being a success, you've got to be prepared to lose. You're going to lose at some point. Like you're going to have a loss, whether it's on a deal, in a relationship, whatever it is, you're not going to win every time. The whole point is you've got to win more than you lose, and then you end up. And, even now we don't get every deal 100% right. It doesn't go 100% as we expected, but I won't let other people lose at the expense of me. My angels will get paid what they're due. They'll get their money back and all of that. Too many people, and that's where in our industry a lot of the time people end up arguing because people aren't willing to take the loss. They're not willing to, whether it's time, energy, money. People they want to win it every time, and that's just not realistic.
And that's where values come in, isn't it? You've got to do business with people that have good solid ethics and values. And one of the things, coming back to social media, one of the things I put on my social media is ethical investing, and I'm a massive believer in that. My investors know that if anything goes wrong, it'll come out of my pocket. It'll 100%. Never come out of theirs, because otherwise what's the point? You can't have your cake and eat it. You just look like a dick.
Yeah, 100%.
So there we go. I think that's a fantastic place to end. Thank you very much for your time, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So where can people find you, and where can people join up to this amazing prosperity place that you've talked about?
Oh yeah, if you follow me on anywhere on social media, Instagram I'm most active, Danny Inman Property. I wouldn't follow me if you do want to hear about dreams and all of the sales and all of that. I'm probably not the right person. But if you want to see actually the ups and downs and challenges and very honest perspective on how frustrating business and success can be, but how it's worth it, then I'm potentially, hopefully, worth a follow. And in same with Prosperity Network _ for Prosperity Network. If you guys want to see it, again, you won't get any hard sell whatsoever, but we invest heavily in social media, so our social media team pushing out 2 or 3 posts a day and sharing content and value. And if you want to get involved, then by all means, come and join us.
Yeah.
Awesome people like you and many others that are actually doing shit in property and sharing both good and bad and everything that's going on in between that's happening in the market. So
yeah, absolutely. Couldn't put it better myself. A big recommend from me. So once again, thank you very much for your time, Danny. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, buddy.